Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Her Faith Inspires podcast, where we take cultural issues and we examine them through the lens of scripture. Today, we're talking about how to set realistic health and fitness goals for 2026. This is the time of year when people are disgusted with themselves because they ate all the stuff, the cookies and the candy and the junk from the holiday season. I can relate to this because one week this December, I had so many parties that I ate so much garbage. I mean, you know what they have at the parties? They have like cheeses and salami and like croissants, chicken salad croissants, and then they have all the sweet stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't eat like this very often, but I mean, I'll bite, it's Christmas. And I just felt gross that whole week. And I just had to like that weekend, I was like, I got to get back into the groove here. So I'm going to talk about some things that I do, some things I suggest you do, depending upon where you are in your journey to getting healthy and maybe your own knowledge base, because sometimes nutrition is something that people have to learn. So we're going to talk about all of that. This information will help those of you who signed up, obviously, for the challenge, the 75 Heart Mind Strength Challenge that starts on January 5th. If you sign up, you will get emails starting January 4th that gives you the reading, the Bible reading, the reading of the book that we are going through that whole 11 weeks, the workouts, and then like nutrition information. The journal is not available anymore, so you're not going to be able to buy it, but you can still sign up for the challenge and get the weekly emails. And if you're on social media, you're going to get a lot of information from me over those those 11 weeks. I'll be with you, and I'm going to do a few lives. I'm going to tell you what you need to do, but a lot of that is going to be in here too. So even if you listen to the podcast, but you're not like on Instagram or Facebook, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks will be chunks of this information, but maybe in greater detail. So you're not going to miss out on anything really. Okay. So if you're not in the challenge though, it'll still be extremely helpful for you for goal setting and changing your lifestyle and, moderation. How do I make these small changes that come to big changes over time? Most people fail at these New Year's resolutions. I've talked about this before, probably in the 6 years that I've done this podcast. Every time around this year, I've talked about goal setting and nutrition and New Year's resolutions and why they don't work. Because, people who make these New Year's resolutions, they stop doing it after a couple of weeks because they restrict. It's just like December, 25th, I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to cut out all my sugar, but they don't do anything to prepare for that. And then they just cut it cold turkey on January 1st, and then it fails. And I'm going to tell you why that happens, why that's not a good idea. That is never the most effective way to make a habit or lifestyle change, is to just quit something cold turkey, or to deny yourself as something that, you psychologically, you'll want more eventually because you're denying it. Like, even if you thought today, I'm going to fast tomorrow, I'm going to take a 24-hour fast, you would want food today. You want to eat more than what you normally eat because your body's telling itself that you're going to deprive it of that thing that you want, or just food in general, for 24 hours. So you're going to be more inclined to eat a lot more, thinking that that's going to help you. Or I don't know why. It's almost like when someone says, this is going to be a weird analogy, but it's so true. If somebody says, oh, I slept in a hotel bed and it has bed bugs. Now, every time you go to the hotel bed, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm itchy. And you're going to think that, does my hotel bed have bed bugs? And it's just, I don't know why our mind does that. It starts thinking of the thing that we probably shouldn't dwell on. And then we become obsessed with that thing. I think food is the same thing. If you think that you're not going to get it, or you're going to restrict, you're going to want it more because your mind's going to be fixated on it. And that's just the psychology of denying yourself. That's how it works. So we're going to talk about how to be successful in setting realistic goals and work toward creating healthy habits in this episode. And then we're also going to talk about the sin of gluttony. Or is it a sin? We'll consult God's word for the answer about that. Before we get into all of that, let me remind you that the challenge is still open for this week only. It closes on January 4th. That's the date that the email goes out. So if you're not in it, it's done. And I won't be opening that up. Just like some people want the journal now, I've announced it and I posted it and I've made it known in my newsletter and through emails. It's closed because that requires ordering and facilitating, getting those things together. And I had to have a deadline to make sure everybody received those well before the challenge. Because for me, as the way that I operate is to the best of my ability, I prepare ahead. So if I know I'm going to do a challenge on January 5th, which I am joining this challenge with you guys, and I'm going to be a little bit more strict on what I do for my goal setting. I'm not going to think about that January 4th. I'm thinking about it now. I'm already preparing protein bars, things like that I want to really incorporate over that 11 weeks. So I encourage you to do the same. That's how I operate. So that's how I operate the things that I'm running, like this challenge. The journal is no longer available, but again, you'll get the email. So you don't have to worry about that. If you're in the Facebook group, I will post meal plans and even do some lives there throughout the challenge as well. But again, people are like, what if I'm not on social media? You don't have to be. And some of these things you'll have in the journal if you bought it. There will be there's a protein section, a carb section, a healthy fat section. So a lot of what I'm talking about today will help complement that. And finally, if you want a 2026 planner, get it while it's available because it won't be available anymore as of January 15th. I feel like you can get a planner late, into the month of January because it's the first few weeks of the year. And then after that, I'm closing that up as well. You can see a sample of it at shandafulbright.com/shop. I don't have time to go into the nitty gritty on that, but it has sermon notes that you can color. And I just love it. I have my planner for this year right here on my desk. I have used it every single week, write things in it constantly. And I'm going to keep it because it's going to help me look back on this year and be like, what was I doing that month? Do I need to plan ahead? Was my timing on pace? All of those things. So just check that out. And finally, if you enjoy the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and review, as that helps get the podcast into the earbuds of others. That's really the only way to keep this podcast circulating and in front of people who, like yourself, want to learn theology and apologetics and worldview and all of the things that I talk about. So I will do it between the lines today, even though I am doing a deep dive on like healthy habits and nutrition, and it's going to take a little bit, but as I'm typing this episode, as I was preparing it, Christmas is still this week, and I'm the present buyer for almost everyone in my family. My husband, he'll take on my brother and some gifts for our boys. If he's out and about, he sees them. He always does stuff and puts them in their stockings. But I do our moms. My dad, he does his dad. And like I said, my brother, because he and my brother are always buying for each other. I do my nieces and my nephews and all the other gifts for our kids, and most of the stocking stuffers for even his mom. So I love it. I'm a gift giver. And I think my love language, one of them is gifts. Like, I think because I love to give so much, I think that's probably why that says that my love language is probably receiving the gifts. I don't know. I'm still figuring that. I feel like it's harder for me to pinpoint my love language than it is others, but anywho, I love to buy gifts, but also it gets hard when I'm like, what do I get these people? They have everything they could possibly need and more. And if they don't have it, they can go buy it. So what do I get them? I always tell myself every year, I am going to start early. I'm going to start in October. I mean, that's not early for some people. My mother-in-law and even my sister-in-law start asking what I want in September or October. And I'm like, please, I'm not even thinking about Christmas. Like, my brain hurts to think that far ahead. That's how I am when it comes to buying Christmas gifts. But it is go time the day after Thanksgiving for me. And that's when I start and get everything ready. But this year I got a little bit smarter. I decided that instead of buying like in September, because my thing in September is, or even August, what if they change their minds, or what if I find that they bought this for themselves? Like, I feel like it's too early. But I started paying attention to what people talked about, what they said they needed, started even just noticing maybe that they needed something. So I would take my phone out and I would type it in there in my notes, and I'd put the person's name and be like, oh, they're interested in this, or they like this. So by the time it came to start buying gifts, we in our family group chat, everybody has to, I make this little template where it's like, what do I want? What do I need? What do I like to eat? My favorite things to do, blah, blah, blah. Because last year I threatened my nieces and nephews, like, you'll get a gift card if you do not tell me what you want for Christmas. And so it worked and everybody was chiming in. But that list got wiped out by my mom, my in-laws, my sister-in-law, because they're on it, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's nothing left on the list, but don't fear. You wrote it in your notes. So I went back to my notes and everything that I bought my boys, my daughter-in-law is all stuff that I would just pay attention to, even my, like, few of my nieces and nephews. So it was really nice because I feel like they're going to be surprised. I mean, again, I'm talking in this episode, like, okay, the challenge is coming up, which it is. However, this is still Christmas week as the time of this recording. So I'm telling you, I'm living this in real time. And I just thought that was fun and it makes you pay attention to people. So that's my tip for you guys. When you guys start looking at, I mean, even in January, when January rolls around, just start making little notes. You can know what to buy them for their birthdays, or I don't know if I don't really buy a lot of gifts throughout the year unless it's a special occasion like a birthday or Christmas, because I like to save up those things. But you'll have those ideas put in your phone. You can delete, you could edit, all those things. But that is a tip. And I feel like it makes it a little more special because you're paying attention to what they need and just maybe what they want or things that they're throwing around, and they won't even know that you're marking it. But it's been fun to do that for some of the people in my life. So there's a tip for next Christmas, and you'll thank me later, I promise. So this is what we're going to talk about today. First, how to set realistic goals. Now, I'm gonna give you a little acronym that will help you for any goal setting, but we're going to apply this to fitness goals because there is a formula, there is a proper way to set goals, and then there is a way that it's not goal setting, it's wish making. I'm going to tell you the difference. 2, how to make gradual lifestyle changes that won't make you feel deprived or like you're restricting yourself, because I feel like you have to know the difference or you will fail. And finally, is gluttony a sin? What does overeating say about our fleshly desires? So first, let's look at how to set realistic goals. What is a goal? According to the Oxford Dictionary, a goal is, quote, the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result, end quote. But sometimes people make goals and it's not really their ambition, right? Maybe they do it because somebody else is doing it, or maybe they're doing it because they are like, well, this is the right thing to do, or sometimes they just voice it, but it's in their heart, they're just not into it. So if you don't actually want it, because it has to be your ambition, it has to be something that you want, something that you're working towards. If you don't want it, it's not going to become a goal and you won't put the necessary effort into achieving it. So first things first, set realistic and attainable goals. A goal should be within reach, but it should challenge you enough. It should just be just out of reach that presents the challenge for you to push to get it. So if a goal is a desired result, then that means it's not a reality for you right now, but you want it to be. So that means you have to do something to achieve the goal. And again, this goes for anything, not just food and health and nutrition. I was talking to somebody the other day who's, thinking about dating. And I said, is your goal to get married? And they're like, yeah, but I can't make that my goal. Yes, you can. If your goal is to get married, then you have to be doing something to get out there and meet the right person to marry. That means, what am I involved in? What am I interested in? So I know what to get involved in, so I can find somebody with like-minded and like the same interests and things like that. So you can make that, one day my goal is to have kids. Okay, well, what is that going to look like? So I think that we have to remember this applies to every area of life where you set goals. It just might look different, the actionable steps to get there. And when I taught in the schools, public education, we had to set SMART goals. That's an acronym, SMART. And then my son is in real estate and they also set SMART goals. So we're going to use that acronym to help us set realistic fitness goals. But there are other ones out there. And this is to give you an idea of how to set goals in general. Like if you're saying, my goal is to read through the Bible in a year. Okay, you can't just say that and stop there. That's not planning to achieve the goal. That's something you want. But if you don't plan to achieve it, you don't set action steps in place, it's a wish. And wishes is just, oh, I wish I had this and that's it. But a goal says, I want this. This is what I need to do to get there. How am I going to measure that? So if your goal doesn't have an actionable plan to complete it, then it's not a goal. It's a wish. And wishes are only found in fairy tales. Okay. And they might come true in a fairy tale, but that's not real life. So let's look at SMART goals and how that can help us with this challenge at the new year, this specifically the 75 Heart Mind Strength Challenge. And then if you're not doing the challenge with us, but you want to make these changes, you can apply this to the goal that you're setting. So S in SMART is specific. Your goal should be clear and well defined. It cannot be vague. So you have to ask, what exactly do I want to accomplish? So if you're saying, I want to lose weight, that is too vague. What you want to say is, I want to lose 5 pounds in 11 weeks. That's what you want to be that specific. So, and then also the goal that you set, again, it has to be realistic. You don't want to say, I want to lose 15 pounds in 11 weeks. That's maybe a little too ambitious if you, or maybe it isn't, depending upon your situation. You have to figure out what's realistic, but be specific. Or I want to gain, more muscle. I want to get more toned. That means you're going to have to lift heavier weights. If you want to lose weight, you might need a specific, nutrition plan. So be specific. You have to get so specific that for my goal, I want to gain more muscle, but I want to have definition in my arms and legs to where I can, this is going to sound funny, but when I wear like tank top, sleeveless shirts, things like that, I can see the definition in a picture. I feel like my arms used to be like that. What I would do to plan ahead too is I would measure my arms now and then say, what do I need to get there? I need to lift heavier weights in the gym. So I'll challenge myself to move up by like maybe 2.5 pounds and over a couple of weeks, and then add 5 more pounds on each side of the barbell, something like that. So again, you're trying to be specific. M is for measurable. You should be able to track progress and know when the goal is achieved. So you have to ask, how will I measure this success? So for example, if you're going to measure weight loss, you're going to track it. You're going to say, I'm going to follow this nutrition plan, and I'm going to cut out all sodas for this 11 weeks. And I will weigh myself every Monday morning and measure and take progress photos. So your progress photos, you're weighing in of yourself and you're measuring of your like hips, maybe biceps, quads, things like that, will help you measure to see, am I losing weight? Am I reaching this weight loss goal? How am I measuring that and tracking that? Again, it has to be achievable. The goal should be realistic given your current season, your resources, your limitations. Like if you are pregnant, you do not want to lose weight. You might say, I want to just be fit for when I have a baby. And because you'll be seen by a doctor, you need to talk that over with your doctor. I am not a certified health coach or nutritionist or anything like that. I've just been doing this for a very long time, but I'm not the expert in knowing what you should do. You have to consult your doctor if you are in any way under like medical advice or have any conditions or are pregnant or anything like that. But again, it has to be achievable. If you say, I'm going to work out for 2 hours every single day, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't tell anybody to do that. But maybe you can say, I will commit to 45 minutes, 6 days a week, and take a rest on Sundays in order to accomplish this goal. And so you would allot 45 minutes a day, Monday through Saturday. take Sundays off to achieve the goal. And that, if it's doable and you can work it into your schedule so you can succeed at it, great. If 45 minutes is too long and you can only squeeze in 30, work with the 30 minutes. So it has to be achievable so that way you're still going by week 8, 9, 10, 11. And then it has to be relevant. The goal should matter and align with your values and priorities. So ask, why does this goal matter? And it also stands for realistic, which I think ties into achievable. Is it realistic for, again, my lifestyle? Some of you are, you work full time, or you have young babies, or you're in the season of life where, you might have more time than somebody else. If the goal is realistic, then great. Again, if you're pregnant, you don't want to say, I need to lose weight. Right now in the season of life that you're in, you're not going to do that. So you need to first take care of the fact that you're pregnant, you're a mom, and then do the challenge surrounding that fact that you're carrying. So I think that we have to make sure that we're constantly reevaluating this to say, okay, did I bite off more than I can chew? Like if you're in week 3 and you need to scale back maybe part of the time that you've allotted to work out, or if you're like, you know what, this reading is too much, I'm going to have to cut the book out, the Jen Wilkin book, None Like Him, but keep reading my Bible. That is the order you should go. Keep the Bible in, cut the extras out. So that's also being realistic. Can I read all of this? If I can only read the Bible and then answer the questions in the journal, then do that. That's great, because you're going to say, I will read the Bible throughout this entire challenge and not miss a day. That is way more important than getting through the book. But some of you might be able to do both and do both easily because it's realistic for you. So be careful what you commit to, but you can always scale it back or change it in 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe even week 3, you're like, I have way more time. I can go ahead and read the book. And then T is time bound. There should be a clear timeline or deadline. So by when do I want this? Now, since we're in an 11-week challenge, which is the 75-day challenge, you know that you can work within that time frame. But I would also challenge you to think, can I do this as a lifestyle, not just when this challenge is over? Because you want to make realistic goals and you want to make sure that you are becoming a disciplined person. Think of this, discipline and disciple both have the same root word. So we have to make sure that disciples are disciplined. They're disciplined followers of the Lord who are rooted in the Word of God, who practice self-control, and who put God first in their lives. So we should be disciplined people anyway, but we're going to practice discipline. Discipline is developed over time, and I truly believe you have to practice being a disciplined person. One of the things I want to warn you about is comparing yourself. So this ties in with the realistic and the relevant. If you're doing this challenge with friends, or even if you see like other ladies online and they post what they're doing, don't compare yourself to them, and don't compare yourself to me. I've been doing this for 10 years. And I've counted macros for 3 years strict, been doing CrossFit it's been about 6 years before I left California, came back and did it here for about a year, and just got back into it again this year. But I worked out on my own doing CrossFit style workouts, even when I wasn't in the CrossFit gym. I haven't stopped working out in 10 years. So if you compare yourself with somebody else, you will fail because you don't know what season of life they're in. If you're pregnant and you're like, oh, I'm not going to lose weight this challenge, because I have to be careful what I do because I can't do as much. It's a season. You'll fail completely if you compare. So you have to start where you are in life and then progress through that. And trust me, time goes by and you will get to where you want to be with consistency. Consistency is the main ingredient, to be honest with you. Discipline is the consistent effort, whether or not I feel like it. So we're all at different ages and different stages. Some are having babies and some are going through menopause. So some have never worked out and some work out all the time. Do not compare yourself to somebody else. Comparing yourself to somebody else is going to kill your goals. I know when I'm sandbagging a workout or if I'm overindulging with food that I shouldn't eat. So I compare myself with myself. And sometimes that's also not good because I'll compare myself with myself from 5 years ago. And, I've aged within 5 years. So I have to be mindful of that as well. But I should still only be comparing myself to the Shanda that I was yesterday. Am I able to give my all in that workout today because I gave it my all yesterday? Or can I do better because yesterday I sandbagged it? Like, just compare yourself to yourself. I know my abilities, you know your abilities, and I know my deficiencies and you know yours. So you have to work within your limits, and you have to push yourself beyond those when you can. For those of you who already have a workout plan, like if you are in CrossFit, you don't have to do what I plan. You can stick with your workout plan. Some ladies who work out are joining this challenge to become disciplined with just Bible reading and reading books for their intellectual growth, but they already have the fitness stuff down. Great. You can do that too. But if you want all of the above, then this provides all of the above. So let's look at some of the nutrition plans and what I mean when I say you figure out what you want to do with your nutrition throughout this challenge. Let me first say that diets do work. But what do I mean by work? Well, your body will change and you'll see results when you restrict. It's just natural. But I don't like diets. Like, I don't like to pick keto or, this whole food diet only, or pick one, or macros. I'm not going to sit there and be like, everybody needs to go on macros. I like nutrition awareness. I like you to know and understand what the different foods do to your body, whole foods versus box foods, versus making healthy choices. Do I need to go no fat? Can I have whole fat milk? We're going to talk about those things because when you look at nutrition awareness rather than diets, the difference is a diet tells you what to eat and what not to eat, while nutrition guides you to how and what's best for your body. I've seen people do low carb diets. I mean, my dad used to do them all the time, and you will shed weight, but then you're like at a loss for energy because carbs help give you energy. And if you eliminate all carbs, yeah, you're going to lose weight. But as soon as you figure out like, oh my gosh, I need to eat some carbs, you're going to binge eat breads and everything else. And I've seen people do keto and lose weight. And I've seen people do low fat diets that eliminate so much fat from their diet and they lose weight. Or I'm going to eliminate all sugar and they lose weight. You name it, people have done it. And we're even going to talk about people who take Ozempic and other things like that later on. But these things don't last because restrictive diets usually cause people to binge at some point, or after their challenge is over, like, oh, I only have to do this for 2 months. They go right back into unhealthy habits because they haven't been satisfied for 2 months and they blow up. And that's what you call a yo-yo diet. What you have to remember is that here's the science to weight loss and weight gain. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. Okay. Like it or love it, 3,500 calories equals a pound. So if you restrict, you're going to lose weight because you're going to be at a calorie deficit. And if you eat more than 3,500 calories, you're going to gain weight because you're exceeding the 3,500 calories. The reason you have to be careful with certain foods that are high in calories is because not all calories are equal. Candy, chips, sodas, and other junk foods are high in calories, and they're what we all call empty calories, meaning they don't have much, if any, nutritious value. It's not like feeding your muscles the protein and giving yourself micronutrients, which are the vitamins and things that you need. So you're going to eat the junk food, and you're going to want more, reaching that high caloric intake much quicker. Healthier choices like lean protein, so you have that means chicken breast, low fat, ground beef, yogurts, ground turkey, salmon, they're going to be high quality nutritious value and lower in calories because it's fueling your body and giving it what it needs to gain the muscle and support the muscle growth. And just so you know, women start to lose muscle mass in their 30s, and each decade after that, it's a certain percentage. I want to say 10%. I could be wrong on that. You'd have to look it up because I didn't. But every decade after that, unless you are actively trying to prioritize uh, protein and muscle growth. So if you're just running on a treadmill, or you're only running on a, outside, or if you're only doing stair steps, or you're riding a bike or whatever, you're only doing cardio and you're not working on muscle building. So if you want to gain muscle, which all women should really focus on that, you're going to have to use some weights. You're going to have to incorporate some dumbbells or some kind of weightlifting. It doesn't have to be crazy heavy. You want to start lighter and then move forward or move up on that, but make sure your form is better. Make sure your form is good before you try to go too heavy. The most important thing is form, and then you can increase on your weights. But when it comes to carbs, I don't restrict on things like potatoes or rice. And it bugs me when people are like, you can't eat white rice or you can't eat potatoes. I'm like, for Pete's sake, the potato grows in the ground. I mean, you can't get any closer to what God created than something that's growing from the ground. A potato is a carb, and you need carbs for energy. So what you don't want is a lot of breads and empty carbs, such as like sugary drinks. If you want to know what's going to increase calories quick and will still make you hungry, it's going to be your drinks. It's going to be if you drink soda, if you drink like juices, if you put lots of creamer in coffees, if you, energy drinks and things like that, box crackers, those are all carbs. So, and they're going to be empty carbs. So some carb options, and chips, I didn't mention chips. Chips are like high calories. So some carb options that I like is, like I said, potatoes, rice. I don't care if it's white or brown. Some people have a preference. I eat mostly white. Sweet potatoes are really great. They're like a superfood. You can make sweet potato fries in the oven or the air fryer. Fruits and vegetables are carbs, but they're great. And I don't worry about how much I eat per day. You're supposed to have a certain amount of servings a day. And I don't even think people get to that. That's kind of hard sometimes. Bananas in a protein smoothie. That's a great option. I love bananas, love them with like some green on them. They have to have like this firmness to them. But in a protein shake, you want them a little bit more ripe, and it sweetens your protein shake. During this challenge and beyond, I suggest making your own bread if you like to do that. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, so I'm not telling you to take up sourdough making right now if that's not something that you do. But if you do that, that's a really good thing to do, is to make your own sourdough. It's good for your digestive system. But again, don't take it on right away. Just start thinking about maybe incorporating that at some point into your life. When it comes to fats, just here's the thing. Peanut butter is a fat. Okay, I'm just going to say it is not a protein. Do you know how many times I see people say, "Oh, I eat protein, I eat peanut butter." It is not a protein. Go look at the nutrition information on the peanut butter. There is more fat in that thing than protein by far. So you don't know how many times I hear people say, I'm eating peanut butter for protein. No, you're eating fat. It's a fat. Nuts are a good fat, but only eat about a quarter of a cup for a serving. Avocado is a great fat. I also like string cheese to help me get my fats in. String cheese has like almost equal parts protein and fat, but it just depends upon which one you get. Avocado oil and olive oil are healthy fats too. Your body needs fats, so don't restrict them, but you want to get the right fats to get the best nutritious value and caloric intake. That means if you go to Chick-fil-A and you eat a spicy chicken sandwich, that has high fat content because it's fried, and that's not the fats that's the best choice. Not to say that you can't have that every once in a while, but that's not going to be something you're going to want to do every single day. Also, I'm not telling you can't have peanut butter. I love peanut butter. Peanut butter is like one of my favorite foods. I'm just telling you, don't think that it's a protein, because it's not. Put it where it belongs, and that's in the fat category. So during this challenge, I encourage you to choose a nutrition plan of your choice. I'm not going to tell you what to eat, and I'm not going to tell you what to restrict. I'm going to suggest certain things, but you know what your routine of life looks like. We're all pretty routine people. If people go to fast food often, that's their routine. And you guys don't need me to say it, but I'm going to say it. Okay. Mickey D's is not healthy for you at all. And I don't like going to fast food restaurants because I don't trust them. There are a couple that I will go to. I will go to Chick-fil-A because my son used to work there, and he said for the most part they make things pretty fresh. And I've heard other people say they don't. Well, I trust him, and you can get a salad. There's some healthy options. You also see some healthy options in your nutrition journal that we made. You can get like grilled chicken nuggets and things like that. I'll also go to Taco Bell because I can get like this all beef burrito, or I can get a burrito supreme, no sour cream. I just don't like sour cream. And I feel like or you can get like a chicken taco. Okay. But I won't go to McDonald's, Burger King, where throw one out. If we're on a road trip, my husband's like, you want to go to Wendy's? No, I do not want to go to Wendy's. But if that's all there is, I will get a baked potato. That's usually what I get from Wendy's. And I'll just be like, meh. Or I'll try to go to the gas station and find a protein bar if I didn't bring my own snacks. But I just can't do fast food. I cannot. It's gross to me. I've gone too long without it to where I'm super picky about it because I've created a lifestyle that doesn't incorporate it. But you might have that as your lifestyle. And if you want to make changes, I would say begin by looking at how many times you can make your own meals instead of going to fast food as many times as you do. So be realistic. And if you're like, on Thursdays, I'm just so busy, I cannot make a meal on Thursdays. Well, that might have to be your fast food day, but maybe start thinking about which ones you can go to make healthier choices. And on the other days, try to meal prep. But we're going to talk about a little bit more about that. Okay, so pick a nutrition plan of your choice and start by looking at what you normally eat. And then start saying, if I like soda, where do I put it? But I don't put it in every day. What I suggest is looking over, your routine and begin to think ahead to what you're going to do to make the slight changes that will help you see results over the next 75 days. If you don't change anything, you won't see any change. I mean, you're just going to keep doing the same thing that you do. And putting in a little bit of working out is not going to outweigh the fact that you don't eat, right? Because if you really look at diet and nutrition, it's about 75% what you eat and 25% how you move your body. They both partner well together to gain muscle and to look trimmer and things like that. But your nutrition has to be dialed in. I'm not saying to jump on keto or count macros. I'm not telling you to do that. If you want to do that, that's up to you. I'm not telling you to do those things. Do something that you know you can continue long after the challenge. That's the whole point. Because if you go on keto, you probably won't maintain it. And if you count macros, you probably won't either. Because I did count macros for 3 years straight. And then after a while, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's too mentally taxing. So we're nurturing healthy habits in all areas of life, including spiritual disciplines, where we read the book of John and we read Jen Wilkins' book, None Like Him. And this nutrition's probably going to be the most challenging for some of us. So here's an example of what I am suggesting. If you're joining the challenge and you want to lose weight and get fit, then start by cutting back on boxed foods. If you eat things like chips, cookies from a box, crackers, whatever else, cereals, I don't eat cereal either, but cereals, then start thinking about, okay, how do I eliminate the boxed things? Don't eat the cookies unless you bake them. That's what I do. I'm a baker. I love to bake. I bake every single week. And I will eat what I bake. I'm not going to not eat it. Some of you will message me on Instagram. How do you eat all that and you still are thin? Because I eat it in moderation as well. If you like chips, don't eat them unless you make them. Like, get an air fryer and make your own chips. Make your own snacks and train your taste buds to love quality food. Prepare your snacks on the weekends. You can make a peanut butter and honey dip for vegetables. I love peanut butter and honey dipped in carrots, or carrots dipped in peanut butter and honey, I should say. You can hard boil some eggs. I love the egg whites. I just don't like egg yolks, but I've done that, taken it to work with me before. You can prepare cheese and like cutlets. There are dried fruit options, whole fruit options, nuts. RX bars is one of my favorite protein bars because they're only made with 5 ingredients, which are figs being the main one. And I like healthier options. I have a Yuka app, YUKA, and my family, we scan everything. And if it doesn't say good or better on it, then we don't eat it. And I just have a hard time now eating anything that has preservatives or additives in it, because Yuka will tell you if they've added anything that can cause cancers or that's overall dangerous. So that's how I've leveled up. I'm not telling you that you have to start scanning those things, but I am telling you that box foods are in more of the empty calories. And if you want to make a nutrition change, start there. Like, don't eat cereals, don't eat box cookies, start making your own foods, or pick like a healthy granola or make your own granola for breakfast, something like that, or start making maybe, eggs and bacon. And I trim the fat off my bacon because I'm not an animal fat lover. Like, I just don't like animal fat, period. But bacon's not going to hurt you if you want to eat that. So just start thinking about, what can I have in lieu of this? What healthier choice can I pick besides box cookies? Oh, I can make some of my own cookies. Or what healthier option? If I love chips, what can I have instead of this bag of, really fattening chips? Oh, I can make my own salted vinegar chips in an air fryer. There's lots of good recipes out there. And you can even ask ChatGPT to give you a good, healthy recipe for some of these things. When I taught fifth grade, I made my breakfast and lunch every single night, and I packed it up and put it in the fridge. Got up early in the morning and went to the gym and took all of my clothes and my things with me to get ready for work. And I had a microwave in my classroom, so I heated up my eggs. I know it sounds gross, but it actually wasn't bad. And I'm super picky about reheated foods, especially eggs. I mean, it sounds gross, but it didn't taste bad at all. But I heated up my eggs and my bacon, and I ate that in my classroom. I had my overnight oats, which is a really good thing. Also, I suggest looking up some overnight oat recipes on Pinterest. I love still cut oats. I eat them every single morning after the gym, put a banana in them. And still cut oats are really good for you. But I ate all of that in the morning. For lunch, I had whatever I made the night before for dinner. So I would just kind of make extra and put it in my lunch. So that way it eliminates me having to just make all this stuff. I also ate Greek yogurt every day, and then I drank a protein shake. I believe I drank my protein shake right after the gym, like on the way to work. So I ate in front of my students, and then they ended up buying me healthy snacks because they knew what I liked, because I ate in front of them all the time. But they ate too. They got breakfast in the classroom. And I just made myself, I was very disciplined to take my food with me and eat. I ate all the time and fueled my body. So part of meal prepping is making more for dinner and then taking it for lunch the next day. Or if you work from home, I work from home now, you can eat it for lunch. I also put some collagen protein powder in my latte because it usually does better with a whey protein or something like, like a milk-based protein. So I put it in with my whole milk, and it's another way for me to get some extra protein in there besides what's in the whole milk. It it cuts down on the workload when you plan ahead and you meal prep, and you don't have to eat the same things every day. I can eat the same breakfast every day, but I can't eat the same lunch or dinners over and over again. I do get food aversions easily, so I have to change it up. And I really get food aversions with my protein shakes and sometimes my protein bars, where I'm like, I can eat them for months, and all of a sudden my body's like, reject this because you've had too much of it. And so I have to switch it up a little bit. So protein shakes, I do recommend you finding one that you really like that has about 25 to 30 grams of protein per serving, and at least incorporating one a day in there. I have some that I could suggest, but honestly, I feel like it's preference. what tastes good to some people, I'm like, how can you people drink this? And what tastes good to me, they might be like, how could you drink this? So just find one that you like. You might have to buy, before you run out to Costco and get a case, go maybe try some from a nutrition store, get one, ask them what they like so it doesn't have that chemically nasty aftertaste, but get a protein shake. So, and again, some people like to meal prep for the entire week on like a Sunday and eat the same thing all week. If you can do that, do that. That's fine. If you just want to make extra dinner the night before and then have it for the next lunch, that's great too. It's whatever's easiest for you, that's doable and that fits a lifestyle for you. So, that brings me to the next thing. How do you make lifestyle changes that don't keep you feeling deprived? Again, I don't like restrictive anything. If you tell me that you can't have this, fill in the blank, I'm going to want that thing because I'm like, well, you just told me I can't have it. And now my brain is just going there. So I think that that food isn't meant to be like, you're not meant to restrict. Now, if I'm telling you don't eat boxed cookies anymore, make your own, I don't feel like that's restrictive. I feel like you're making a better choice over one that could harm your body because boxed cookies have preservatives in them that can sit on the shelf for months and months and months. I mean, do you know how long a Twinkie shelf life is? Years without getting moldy and mildew. That's gross. Should you be putting that in your body? No. So instead of eating the Twinkie, but you have a sweet tooth, make something. Homemade brownies. Like there's some great Pinterest homemade brownies. I don't even buy boxed brownies. I won't buy boxed cake mixes. I make everything from scratch because I know the ingredients going in there. So think of healthier options, not restrictions. I guess that's the best way to say it. You're going to have to eliminate unhealthy choices, but keep your non-negotiables, okay? My non-negotiable, if you follow me on social media, you know what it is. It's my lattes with whole milk and honey. I also put a little cinnamon in there lately. So good. I like to eat that or drink that and eat one baked item a day. One thing that I bake. So right now it's been gingerbread cookies and my latte. It's like my favorite thing to do in the middle of the day. I make this latte every single day. And again, I love to bake. It's what I love to do and I have it around me all the time, but I never buy like boxed cookies. I don't eat chips. I don't eat crackers or any foods that I can microwave. It's just it's just not happening. Once you cook and bake a lot, you notice the way your body feels, not just how it tastes, because there is a taste, but your body responds and your body starts to get used to the more quality foods. And then when you give it something that it's not used to having, it doesn't feel good. I will even find myself like not being able to sleep as well because I feel like I get like reflux or something. It's just weird. I don't like it. And so my body just knows like that's not good for you. So since I bake and make it myself, it's already much healthier than anything I can buy at a store. So that's my non-negotiable, my latte and one thing that I bake. And even if it's from a bakery like Costco, I bought something from Costco before thinking that because it was their bakery, I looked at the ingredients and I was like, what in the world? And even one of my boys was like, why did you buy this? Look at all these ingredients in here that you can't even pronounce. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a bakery. Didn't they bake it themselves? No, they didn't. So even if it's from a bakery, just watch it. So choose your non-negotiable. If you absolutely love a Dr. Pepper, keep one Dr. Pepper in your nutrition plan. And if you usually drink 3, but you're going to scale it back to 1 a day, trust me, your body's going to change. If you drink 2 and you scale it back to 1 a day, your body will change. If you already drink 1 a day, you might want to bring it down to like 1 a week. So do something different that challenges your nutrition where you are now because you want to see a change and you want to make healthier choices. But place that Dr. Pepper where you know you can drink it and not want to drink more than that one. If you love creamer in your coffee and life would just not be as enjoyable without it, by all means, keep your creamer in your coffee. If you love Oreo cookies and you're like, I cannot live without this Oreo cookie, then put a couple in your week. Maybe make it a weekend treat, like a Saturday night. We're going to have a movie night and I'm eating 2 to 3 Oreos, but leave it at 2 to 3 and don't smash the entire package, because you're trying to make healthier choices and not restrict. You're trying to put things in moderation. Part of disciplining yourself is to moderate what you take in. You cannot let food rule you. Paul says this in Philippians 3:18-19. For many of whom I have often told you and now tell you even with tears, walk as enemies of the cross of Christ. Their end is destruction, their God is their belly, and they glory in their shame with minds set on earthly things. When we cannot moderate and balance good choices in our diet because we are so used to indulging in whatever we want, we're giving into earthly pleasures. We're giving into the flesh. There has to be a discipline and control over our own appetite, over our own flesh, our bodies. That's why the Bible calls us to fast at times. It keeps our eyes on the spiritual things and keeps us in control over our flesh. And we tell our bodies, you don't actually need food today. We are going to concentrate on the spiritual things, on what God wants for our souls. So I'm all about enjoying the things that God has made. And He did make food because He made us to not just eat to survive. He made us to enjoy the food that we eat. He's given us vegetation, and we have fruits, and we have animals that we can eat. We need food to live, but we have taste buds that cause us to enjoy the things that are tasty and even to reject the things that are bitter. So we can tell the difference with the way that God has designed us of what tastes sweet and what tastes good, what tastes salty, for the enjoyment of the food that He's provided. During this challenge, I want you to think about how you can create healthy habits that you can maintain long after this challenge is over. And you have to learn how to think about nutrition and health. It is a learning process, and there is a learning curve to it. That's why it's so important that you start thinking about this now and don't wait until the challenge to start figuring it all out. Like, now what am I going to do? It's Monday. Well, if you didn't take out the cereal and the box stuff, you're probably going to eat that. So start thinking ahead now of what your cupboard should look like and what your fridge should hold. So come January 5th, you're not tempted to just start eating all of that. In regard to the non-negotiable, I'm only going to give you two non-negotiables. So think about which two you want and then think about how to moderate them. Is it one cheat meal, and then you're going to make that cheat meal like a Friday night when the week is over and you have, the weekend to look forward to? You might be like, I really love Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwich, Shanda, and I really have to have a number one with a sweet tea. That's what my youngest eats or orders. Okay, that's fine. Make it on a Friday night. Make it on a Saturday. Make it on a weekend. One meal only. You don't get a cheat day. You don't get a cheat weekend. You get one cheat meal. Okay. And if that's your non-negotiable, put it somewhere that you can break that little bit of a routine that week and then get back into it again after. Is it Oreo cookies that you can eat during movie night? Then eat them slowly and savor every bite of that 2 to 3 Oreos, because when they're gone, they're gone. Okay. You're only going to eat 2 to 3. Remember, it's not about looking at food as if it's your enemy. It's about you controlling your stomach rather than your stomach controlling you. And that brings me to the final point or question, I guess. Is gluttony a sin? Well, first, what is gluttony? Per Oxford, this is even from a biblical definition, but the biblical definition is pretty much the same. It is habitual greed or excess in eating. According to a recent Gallup poll, quote, Washington, D.C., this is after peaking at a record high of 39.9% in 2022, the U.S. adult obesity rate has gradually declined to 37% in 2025. This is a statistically meaningful decrease, representing an estimated 7.6 million fewer obese adults compared with 3 years ago. Meanwhile, diagnosis of diabetes, a lifetime disease that can be managed but not cured, have now reached an all-time high of 13.8%. Both metrics are part of the ongoing Gallup National and Health and Well-Being Index. I put the link in the show notes if anybody wants to go check it out. Another report by the NPR from October 2025 says the reason obesity rates are slightly declining is because of weight loss drugs like Ozempic. The number of people using injectable obesity treatments is increasing rapidly, and it is leading to declines in obesity, according to a new survey by the Gallup National Health and Wellbeing Index. So the obesity rate dropped to 37% of US adults this year, and that's down from the 39.9% 3 years ago, according to the survey. And I did leave that link in the show notes as well. So here's the thing, people are like, this is a disease. Obesity is a disease. Well, let's just think about that for a minute. Someone is diagnosed as obese when their BMI, their body mass index, reaches 30 or higher in adults. Some want to classify obesity as a disease because then it's not your problem. It's not my fault I'm obese. If it's only a disease, and if it's a disorder or dysfunction in the human body, well, then maybe I need medication, or maybe this is just something that I'm going to have to live with. Well, it's not a disease if you just can't control yourself and you overeat. There are some psychological reasons that people feel the need to eat too much or hoard food, but hoarding is not the same as overeating. Okay, let's get that through our heads first. I've seen kids hoard food at school when I taught 5th grade because they didn't get a lot of food from home. And so they were worried, like, am I going to be able to eat this? So they would just hoard, put lots of extra food from breakfast in their backpacks, but they weren't overeating. But that was a psychological thing. But that shows more like a food insecurity because they didn't know where their next meal was going to come from or if it was going to be enough. So that makes sense. Can that transfer over into gluttony, into overeating? It could, but that's still going to be a mind problem, not a disorder of the body, right? A disorder or a disease of the body. But here's where I'm going to be real, and it's going to sound harsh, but I'm just going to lay it out there. The majority of the obesity in America is because we overindulge, do not practice self-control, we're lazy, we don't want to be uncomfortable, and we've stopped learning to make our own food, and we rely too heavily on fast food chains and eating out, where they put tons of salt in your food, tons of butter, and they don't care, how fattening it is. You're eating out. That's a privilege to go eat out. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself. So it kind of is an indulgence in some way. However, that doesn't excuse gluttony. If gluttony is overeating and overindulging, that means the only way for it to be something out of your control is if it's some sort of mental disorder that it needs treatment. And if it's a mental disorder, there needs to be a transformation of the mind to concentrate on what triggers that gluttony or the need to feel like you have to keep eating. Kind of like my example of my 5th grade student who hoarded food because he was afraid that he'd starve. That's psychological, but it's triggered by environment and circumstances, not because there's an actual physical condition or disorder. Okay, so I'm hoping that I'm making that clear. According to the Mayo Clinic, now here's an actual condition that leads somebody to overeating. It's called Prader-Willi syndrome, and it's rare. It's a rare genetic condition that leads to physical, mental, and behavioral problems. A key feature of Prader-Willi syndrome is a sense of being hungry all the time. People with Prader-Willi syndrome want to eat all the time because they never feel full. That's the only one I know of that's out of someone's control that actually is some sort of condition that they have because they just don't have a shut off. Like their brain's not telling their stomach, you're full, you can stop eating now. Why do I say all of that? Because I'm trying to make the case for the fact that gluttony is not something Christians should struggle with, because one of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. And I'm not saying, okay, let me back up. It's not that we don't struggle sometimes with overeating, but it shouldn't be something that Christians can't control, because one of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. We can be aware of it. That could be a weakness of ours. And we can say, okay, I need to be mindful of this so I don't overindulge. But it's not because I'm going to excuse it away as a disease. I just don't see evidence for that. People say alcoholism is a disease. I can't control it. I get drunk. I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that. I think that we label things as diseases to take the blame off of ourselves. And that is one way to let the body rule the spirit and to throw everything out the window when God's saying, no, you rule the body. I think I read 1 Corinthians 9:27 before, where Paul, and this is my favorite Bible verse, I train my body like an athlete, disciplining it and telling it to do what it should, so that way, after I've preached to others, I myself might not be disqualified. He's like, the body doesn't tell me what to do. I tell the body what to do. That means I don't care if I feel like it, if I want it really bad, if it's not good for me, if it's not what I should have. The answer is no. I do not allow my body to rule me. I rule my body. And according to the world and everything in it, radio program, they say that many of the chronic conditions Americans are diagnosed with today are a result of food choices and portion sizes. I didn't listen to this whole broadcast, but my niece's mother-in-law sent me part of the transcript, and the host made a really good point that I wanted to share with you. They said the problem is not food, it's the plate. Or the problem is not the food, it's not the plate, it's the heart. The problem is the heart. If food becomes your enemy, you will have an unhealthy relationship with food, and that's not how God designed it to be. Like I said, He wants us to enjoy what we eat, yes, but He also wants us to practice self-control, even in this area. They go on to say in this broadcast that gluttony is thankless, mindless overeating. It's rooted in it's rooted in comfort seeking and incubated in entitlement. And we don't really talk about it in the church much. We talk about lots of other sins, but we don't talk about the sin of gluttony much. Let me ask you this. When is the last time you heard a message on gluttony? There are just as many obese Christians in the church as there are outside of it. Shouldn't we also discuss what it means to steward the temple of the Holy Spirit well? There's no Bible verse that comes out and says outright gluttony is a sin. But there is no verse outright where Jesus said these exact words, I am God. And people will claim, because they've said this to me on YouTube many times, oh, Jesus never claimed to be God. I disagree with that. Jesus was crucified because He made Himself equal with God, and the Jews hated Him for it. My point, gluttony is talked about many times in the Bible, and it alludes to the fact that it is a sin, just like the Bible alludes to the fact that Jesus said He's God. Aquinas said this, quote, gluttony is an inordinate desire for food and drink that goes beyond reasonableness and therefore departs from goodness. While gluttony has everything to do with food, it doesn't have to do with food only. I believe that if you can discipline yourself not to overindulge with food, then you can do it in almost every area of your life. Gluttony gives into those physical desires and indulges in an unhealthy appetite. And of course, if you continue on that path, it is likely to lead to obesity, heart disease, and other medical conditions. Proverbs 28 says this about gluttony, that a companion of gluttons shames his father. Proverbs 23:19-21 says, listen, my son, and be wise, and set your heart on the right path. Do not join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor, and drowsiness clothes them in rags. So food is the only area where God tells us to control our bodies. Sorry, Albert, back that up. Food is not the only area where God tells us to practice self-control and to control our bodies. We are told not to practice sexual immorality because our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are told in James to control our tongues. We are told to be careful what we touch and what we see, when Jesus spoke in hyperbolic language about cutting off the limbs to keep the body from sinning. So why would overindulging in food be weird? It's not. It's just another way to control your body. When God created the world, He gave us whole foods. There was no boxed cereals and cookies and crackers with preservatives in it. Those types of foods are high in calories and loaded with sugar, and when you consume them, it takes longer for your brain to tell your stomach it's full. It's easier to overindulge in foods that are not high in value than it is on whole foods. And I would argue that those who are, who prioritize a healthy lifestyle with nutrition probably don't struggle too much with gluttony anyway. So besides gluttony being a sin, it's a mindset that must be transformed by the power of the Holy Spirit. So What is something you can do if you struggle with overeating? First, ask yourself this: why am I eating right now? Is it because I'm hungry? My husband loves to eat breakfast in the morning before 8, and he loves to eat lunch at noon. So if I, and I don't, I sometimes eat very, very late in the morning, not till like after 11, I'll just start to eat breakfast. But he and I are going to go somewhere together, or we're going to eat lunch at the same time, he'll be like, it's 12. Are you hungry? And I'm like, no, I'm not hungry. Like, just because it's noon, I don't feel like eating lunch. But he'll be like, well, it's noon, so we should eat. And I'm like, no, if you're hungry, you should eat. You don't just eat because it's noon. So that's my mindset. Like, I only eat if I'm hungry, or if I need the food, if I need to eat the food. Like, if I can tell, like, I'm going to be gone for a couple of hours and I need to eat right now, starting to get hungry, and this will hold me over. But I don't just eat because the clock says 12 and it's lunchtime. Ask yourself, why am I eating right now? Secondly, eat slowly. The slower you eat, the more you will enjoy your food, and you will become satisfied quicker. So it's just something that your stomach and your brain will do, is when the slower that you eat, you'll become full faster. And then third, eat to satisfaction, not to discomfort. I've overeaten before, and it's just really, really uncomfortable. I hardly ever get to the point where I've eaten so much that I can't breathe, or that, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sick. It's a terrible feeling to feel that way. So eat to satisfaction, not to a level of discomfort. And four, eat intentionally. Plan your meals and portions ahead of time, and you'll learn how to eat to satisfaction rather than based on emotional eating or being bored. You have to give your body about 2 weeks or so to get used to a change like this. It Your body might tell you that it's hungry when it's not, or you might want to eat when you're not hungry, but that's where you have to practice the discipline. If you know you've already eaten enough, drink water. Dehydration will also tell you that, or make you have that feeling of being hungry, but you could just be dehydrated. So just try to drink a lot more water. So to close this out, I want to finish up the episode today by telling you, um, or encouraging you to stick with these goals. Healthy habits and lifestyle changes start in the mind. We have to think better and biblically about how to use food, how to see food, how to have a relationship with food. But this challenge isn't only about food. It's about the disciplining yourself, the spiritual disciplines of reading the Bible and reading other books that will stimulate our love for the Lord and help us grow in Him. But I will tell you that diet and exercise will probably be one of the bigger challenges unless you think about it correctly and plan ahead. So, lastly, I want to encourage those of you starting this challenge, or another one like it, to take progress photos. I take front, back, and side photos. So before, like maybe Sunday, January 4th, take the front, back, and side photos. Only weigh yourself once a week at the same time each time. So if you're going to weigh yourself Monday morning at 7, or before you eat breakfast, after you use the restroom, do it every Monday at that same time in the same routine. You will not see progress unless you track the progress through photos or measuring yourself. Remember, it's a SMART goal. The scale is tricky, because if you only rely on your scale, you're going to have a love-hate relationship with that thing. And you're going to look at your number on the scale as being the way that dictates success. And that's not the only factor. That is one unit of measurement to track progress. But even then, it's not the most effective way. So again, it's one way, but it's not the most effective way. Your photos and measuring your hips, your quads, your biceps, all those are also very important to measuring. If you're gaining muscle, if you're losing inches, things like that. I will be around a lot on social media as this challenge, we gear up for the challenge. So I'm going to be on Facebook. I'm going to be on Instagram, hopefully doing some Instagram lives too, just talking about it. So if you're not on the social media, again, that's fine. I did give a lot of information here, But if you have any questions about any of this, please email me at hello@shandafulbright.com. I'll do my best to help you. But here's what I'm not going to do. Don't expect me to create a meal plan for you. I will give you tips. If you're like, look, Shanda, I drink a lot of soda, I eat a lot of box stuff. What should I do first? I'll tell you what I think you should do to help you with your own nutrition plan, which is probably going to be making a healthier choice for the boxed things and tell you what healthier choices you can do, just kind of like I did here. No box cookies, make them. No buying chips, make your chips. And your body's going to change with consistency doing it that way. But again, you're going to have to tell me where you are so I can help you know what you can do, small changes, but don't wait to prepare on January 5th. If you wait to prepare on January 5th, that's the day that you should be starting. So you should be preparing to start now and get your weights, get your nutrition plan and your photos taken. And then the key to success is the preparation made before you begin, the consistency during it, and the will to finish it. Okay. I hope that helps all of you. You can do this. I did it. And I made this lifestyle change 10 years ago and I've stuck with it for 10 years. If I can do it, you can too. Trust me. The Lord willing, I will catch you on the next one. Happy New Year, everybody.